It is happening. The moment many had long feared, and others quietly anticipated, has erupted into a full-scale political catastrophe. Sir Keir Starmer's grip on the Labour Party is not merely under threat, it is disintegrating before the nation's eyes. The magnitude of this collapse surpasses even the most dire predictions of his staunchest critics. The very individuals who once elevated Starmer to power, who protected him from scrutiny, silenced dissent within the ranks, and rigidly enforced party discipline, have now turned against him. Labour's frontbench has all but imploded. Senior ministers have departed en masse. At the time of writing, 43 Labour MPs have tendered their resignations. The party is in open and widespread revolt. Did you know that over 95% of our viewers unsubscribe to the channel? We totally get it, life gets busy, and sometimes it's easy to forget. But here's the thing, subscribing is completely free, and it really helps us keep creating the content you enjoy. So, why not hit that subscribe button and join our community? It only takes a second, but it makes a world of difference to us. Thank you for your support. At the heart of the crisis lies a staggering $22 billion scandal, riddled with opaque contracts, clandestine arrangements, and damning allegations of corruption that lead directly to the uppermost levels of the party. For many Labour MPs, including those who had previously been fiercely loyal to Starmer, a line has been irrevocably crossed. Defending the indefensible is no longer tenable. A vote of no confidence is now in motion. What is unfolding is not merely a political scandal. It is the wholesale collapse of Starmer's authority, and the reverberations threaten to tear the Labour Party apart at its very foundations. It began quietly, as whispers circulating through Westminster and Labour circles. But within hours, the dam burst. Shadow ministers began resigning, one after another, issuing public statements that grew more scathing by the hour. By midday, Starmer's inner circle was in free fall. Senior figures fell like dominoes. These were not token resignations. They came from heavyweight figures, frontbenchers, long-serving MPs, and senior advisors, many of whom had once been Starmer's most steadfast allies. This was not a courteous reshuffle, it was a full-blown mutiny. And the resignations were not accompanied by vague excuses or diplomatic language. They came with documentation, internal memos, emails, and coordinated statements, all painting a picture of endemic misconduct at the very top. The message was unequivocal: Sir Keir Starmer is unfit to lead. He has, they allege, corrupted the moral core of the Labour Party. At the centre of the storm is a $22 billion scandal involving secretive contracts allegedly authorised by Starmer himself, entirely without parliamentary oversight. These deals, arranged during a period of national hardship, appear to have funneled public funds into private firms closely linked to individuals within Starmer's inner circle. This was not mere bureaucratic waste. It was, according to sources, deliberate, concealed, and breathtakingly audacious. Initially, the resignations came from mid-ranking ministers. But within hours, the upper echelon began to unravel. The Shadow Chancellor was the first senior figure to depart, delivering a fiery resignation speech in the House of Commons. She accused Starmer of gross misconduct, betrayal of the public trust, and orchestrating a cover-up of corruption on an industrial scale. Moments later, the Shadow Foreign Secretary resigned, stating she could no longer serve under a leader who prioritized private enrichment over public duty. By the close of day, more than a dozen shadow ministers had followed suit, leaving Labour's front bench gutted and directionless. The party's internal channels were in chaos. WhatsApp groups buzzed with alarm, anger, and despair. One MP reportedly summed up the mood bluntly: "He's finished. If we don't act now, we'll go down with him." The revolt was not confined to Westminster. Across the country, constituency Labour parties, CLPs, many of which had previously supported Starmer's leadership, issued open letters calling for his immediate resignation. Grassroots activists burned their membership cards in protest. Local organisers, who had tirelessly campaigned for Labour, now publicly denounced the very leadership they had once fought for. The sense of betrayal was profound. How did it come to this? How did a man who once championed integrity, transparency, and a return to moral politics find himself at the epicenter of one of the most explosive leadership meltdowns in modern British history. The answer, it seems, lies in what was hidden, and what has now been brought to light. Starmer carefully cultivated an image of a principled moderate, a man of law and order. But according to insiders, behind the scenes he constructed a fortress of secrecy. He allegedly shut down internal investigations, withheld key information from MPs, and silenced whistleblowers. And for a time, it worked. But when confidential documents leaked to the press, revealing the eye-watering $22 billion figure, everything unraveled. Sources allege that Starmer personally authorized at least 6 major contracts awarded to companies with close ties to key party donors. Several of these deals bypassed standard procurement procedures: no open tenders, no transparency, no formal scrutiny. One such company, reportedly owned by a longtime associate of Starmer's chief of staff, received $3.4 billion in public money for vaguely defined consulting services, with no documentation to confirm what work, if any, was actually carried out. Then came the press conference. Starmer, appearing rattled and defensive, sought to deflect blame, claiming he had inherited a chaotic system and was doing his best to bring order. At a hastily arranged press conference, Sir Keir Starmer attempted to stem the political bleeding. He downplayed the wave of resignations engulfing his party, suggesting they were a mere distraction from Labour's broader mission. But few were convinced. Not the media. Not his colleagues. And certainly not the public. This was no mere lapse in judgment. It was, as increasingly laid bare, a systematic pattern of deception, opacity, and ethical malpractice. And now, that very system is being dismantled, by the same people who once helped construct and protect it. Within hours of the press conference, 43 Labour MPs co-signed a letter demanding Starmer's immediate resignation. That number has continued to climb. Senior party figures are reportedly engaged in urgent discussions with Deputy Leader Angela Rayner and other high-profile MPs about establishing a temporary caretaker leadership team to guide the party through the impending transition. The speed and scale of Starmer's collapse is without precedent. Not even the swift demise of Boris Johnson unfolded with such velocity or intensity. Yet, perhaps the most sobering aspect of this saga is the growing consensus that this may only be the beginning. The deeper investigators dig, the more entrenched the rot appears. What began as a scandal involving one man is now being recognized as the symptom of a broader, toxic leadership culture, one steeped in secrecy, political patronage, and an alarming consolidation of power. What lies ahead could reshape the future not just of Sir Keir Starmer, but of the Labour Party itself. The full scope of the scandal only came into focus when a trove of leaked internal documents was made public. At the heart of the revelations, approximately $22 billion in public and party funds allegedly funneled into a sprawling network of private firms with close personal and financial ties to Starmer's senior advisors, major donors, and trusted allies. One such firm received $3.4 billion for communications strategy, despite being run by a former Blair-era consultant and a significant financial backer of Starmer's leadership bid. Another entity was paid over $1.2 billion for digital outreach initiatives, yet no traceable advertising or online campaigns could be found in its name. Alarmingly, a number of these firms were shown to share legal representatives, financial advisors, and registered office addresses, suggesting a tightly coordinated effort to reroute funds discreetly while insulating those involved from legal and political scrutiny. But perhaps most damning of all was the disclosure of a covert advisory body operating at the heart of Labour's policy apparatus, a secretive, unelected board composed of corporate lobbyists, media consultants, and business executives. This so-called shadow board reportedly met with Starmer regularly, wielding enormous influence over Labour's economic direction, while functioning entirely outside official party structures. This body, which had no democratic mandate and answered to no committee, remained hidden from even the party's governing National Executive Committee, NEC. And yet, according to internal records, it was this unelected board, not Labour's official economic team, that signed off on key policy changes, including the abandonment of pledges on public ownership and the scaling back of the party's climate agenda. Moreover, it was this group that allegedly selected which firms would be awarded multi-million-pound contracts to shape Labour's public messaging and political branding. These internal operations were euphemistically dubbed the shadow slate, a code name for a suite of carefully constructed contracts designed to funnel party and public funds to preferred vendors with minimal oversight. The revelation of this board's existence sent shockwaves through Labour's ranks. One senior MP described it as a shadow government within a shadow cabinet. Another likened the leadership to a private corporation disguised as a political movement. The sense of betrayal has been profound, particularly among MPs and activists who stood by Starmer in the belief that he would restore integrity, transparency, and ethical governance to the Labour Party. Many had defended him through years of internal turbulence, assuming that his leadership, while cautious and controlled, was fundamentally principled. Now, those assumptions have crumbled. The latest revelations emerging from Labour's deepening scandal tell a story not of simple incompetence, but of deliberate and orchestrated deceit. A former shadow minister, who resigned earlier this week, revealed in a searing public letter that she had raised concerns about dubious financial arrangements months ago. Her warnings were dismissed. She was told to remain silent for the sake of party unity. "I stayed quiet out of loyalty," she wrote. That loyalty was betrayed. The sense of betrayal is resonating across Labour's parliamentary ranks. A Northern MP representing a working-class constituency put it starkly, "We were promised a party that worked for the people. Instead, we got a cartel." This scandal has transcended mismanagement, it has descended into alleged coercion, institutional suppression, and corruption. Leaked internal emails paint a chilling picture of how dissent was handled. When some MPs attempted to raise concerns about irregularities in spending and procurement, they were reportedly threatened with deselection. In one particularly damning message, allegedly sent by a senior party official, a backbencher was warned, "Pursuing this line could impact your long-term future in the party." Other MPs were quietly removed from key committee positions, denied opportunities to speak at conferences, or saw their local campaign funding mysteriously slashed. The message was clear: dissent would be punished. But now, with the cache of internal documents exposed and public scrutiny intensifying, the tide has turned. Dozens of Labour MPs who had previously held their tongues are now openly calling for change. Over 60 have signed a formal letter demanding a full leadership contest, with more signatures being added by the hour. Shadow ministers are under mounting pressure to declare where their loyalties lie. The internal divide has erupted into open civil war. Across the country, constituency Labour parties, CLPs, are holding emergency meetings. In region after region, from London to Liverpool, Cardiff to Carlisle, party activists and local leaders are passing motions calling for Sir Keir Starmer's resignation. The rebellion is no longer a factional squabble. It is a national movement. Beyond Westminster, the damage is equally severe. The scandal has triggered a grassroots revolt of unprecedented scale. Several major trade unions, including Unite, one of Labour's largest donors, have suspended their financial contributions to the party. They are demanding an independent inquiry into the allegations. Thousands of ordinary members have cancelled their subscriptions. Labour-supporting social media platforms are ablaze with hashtags like #StarmerMustGo and #LabourLeaks. In once loyal heartlands such as the Midlands and the North, local branches have passed no-confidence motions, and constituency offices have been inundated with messages of fury. All of this is playing out against a backdrop of national crisis, soaring energy costs, collapsing public services, and a stagnant economy. In this climate, the optics of a party allegedly funneling billions in secretive contracts to corporate allies are nothing short of catastrophic. It doesn't just call Labour's integrity into question, it annihilates its moral credibility. Starmer's team has scrambled to contain the fallout. In a terse official statement, his office claimed that the documents had been misrepresented, that the advisory board at the centre of the controversy was merely informal, and that all contracts were legally sound. But the excuses are falling flat. The media isn't buying it. The public isn't buying it. And perhaps most importantly, Labour's own MPs are no longer buying it. Because even if some of these deals technically remain within legal boundaries, the ethical failure is undeniable. A party cannot claim to fight for clean politics while secretly enriching its financial backers. It cannot profess to stand with working people while excluding them from the very decisions that shape their lives. And it certainly cannot punish whistleblowers and expect to avoid consequences. The betrayal is now total. The anger is real. And for Sir Keir Starmer, the road back looks impossible. With a vote of no confidence imminent and Labour descending into an all-out power struggle, the question is no longer whether Starmer can survive, it is how many more revelations will surface before his position becomes entirely untenable. What began as internal discontent has metastasized into a full-blown political crisis. The Labour Party, once poised as a government in waiting, now stands on the precipice of total collapse. Inside Labour headquarters, panic has taken hold. Senior aides are said to be frantically working the phones, offering last-minute promotions, political favours, and inducements in exchange for loyalty. But the rebellion is not subsiding. It is intensifying. The leadership is disintegrating. And the future of the Labour Party now hangs in the balance. The desperation inside Labour's leadership circle has become palpable. As Sir Keir Starmer clings to his crumbling authority, the rebellion around him is gaining momentum and determination by the hour. One MP, reportedly offered a frontbench promotion in exchange for backing Starmer, rejected the proposal outright. "It's too late," he said. "He lied to us. He lied to the country. And now has got to go." The sense of betrayal has cut too deep. The tipping point has been reached, and the push to oust Starmer now appears irreversible. Dozens of backbench MPs have formed an informal alliance known as the Integrity Group, a self-described caucus committed to restoring democratic accountability and the foundational values upon which Labour was built. Their mission is clear: remove Starmer and replace him with a leader whose integrity matches the promises made to the British people. The Integrity Group's plan is already in motion. At the next Parliamentary Labour Party, PLP, meeting, they intend to table a formal motion of no confidence. Should it pass, this would not be a mere symbolic gesture. Under party rules, it would legally require Labour to trigger a leadership contest. But Starmer has no intention of stepping aside quietly. Behind the scenes, he is rallying a loyalist faction within the party, known informally at Labour HQ as the Shadow Corps. This group comprises long-standing allies, Blairite strategists, and senior bureaucrats who view the uprising not just as a challenge to Starmer's leadership, but as a direct threat to their broader vision of the party. Their project is clear: a Labour Party stripped of socialism, heavily reliant on corporate donations, and rebranded as a reliable steward for business interests. For them, Starmer's fall would be the collapse of years of political realignment. Their response has been swift and aggressive. First, they are seeking to undermine the Integrity Group through anonymous leaks, character assassinations, and selective briefings to sympathetic media outlets. Second, they are reportedly threatening to suspend local constituency Labour parties, CLPs, that pass motions critical of Starmer's leadership. But most alarmingly, reports have surfaced that the Shadow Corps is preparing legal challenges aimed at preventing the no-confidence vote altogether. They argue that the PLP motion breaches internal party regulations and would therefore be unlawful. This legal maneuvering has sparked fury across the party. "This is an authoritarian stunt," said one veteran MP, "using the courts to suppress internal democracy would fracture this party for a generation." Others warned that if Starmer relies on legal technicalities to silence dissent, the damage to Labour's credibility would be permanent. The internal tensions reached boiling point during an emergency meeting of Labour's National Executive Committee, NEC, held late at night in a secret location to avoid media scrutiny. According to multiple insiders, the atmosphere was electric, volatile, and verging on ungovernable. The meeting collapsed into chaos after Starmer's team attempted to push through a motion declaring the leaked internal documents inadmissible on the grounds of data protection. The move was seen by many as a blatant attempt to suppress the truth. Several NEC members walked out in protest. Others openly accused the leadership of orchestrating a cover-up. Security was reportedly called as voices were raised and tempers flared. Fists slammed on tables. No consensus was reached. In the end, the motion failed, marking a decisive break in Starmer's grip on the party's ruling committee. A growing faction within the NEC has now joined the chorus calling for a leadership contest. The moment that vote failed, one insider confided, "You could see it in his eyes. He's finished. It's no longer a question of if, but how ugly the fall will be." And ugly it is. As Starmer's loyalists scramble to maintain order, Labour's internal machinery is unravelling. The very infrastructure of the party, its communications, discipline, and central command, is grinding to a halt amid the chaos. Key aides have resigned, shadow cabinet roles remain unfilled, and the once meticulously controlled narrative has slipped beyond the leadership's grasp. With legal challenges looming, rebellion spreading, and public trust collapsing, Labour is locked in a battle not just for its leader, but for its soul.